Hello and welcome to today's episode of Taekwondo Life Magazine Live. My name is Mark Sorianis. I'm your host. I'm a third Dan black belt and I'm the editor-in-chief of Taekwondo Life Magazine. We are a member of the Believe Network. Do you believe? Today's episode we are talking about, it's always good we talk a lot about Taekwondo as a sport and we talk a lot about it from the standpoint of motion pictures and entertainment, but we don't always focus enough on the practical aspects of Taekwondo. Taekwondo in defense and Taekwondo in aspects of life outside of the dojang. This week we had an opportunity to feature, we wrote an article which was really widely received about a local New York City Taekwondo fourth Dan candidate who had the opportunity to guard the South Korean president when he was in for the UN General Assembly. Before we get to that, let's have a word from our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on your favorite sports, contests, and events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head over to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use the promo code, it's new, a couple of weeks old, we keep talking about it, BELIEVE50, that's BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the gaming starts. So, we talked about that this week was the General Assembly in New York. The United Nations dignitaries came in from all over the world. It is a time of tremendous heightened security in New York. The local, state, federal, Secret Service, and international security services get together with the NYPD to coordinate the escorting and the protection of all of these dignitaries that are in for a very short time in the center of the world. It is a security, and for those of us that travel around New York, it is a travel nightmare. So, the South Korean president was in. That is President Yoon Suk-yeol. He is relatively new. I think this is his second time in New York. And he is, for those who don't know, he is one of a series of presidents. They've gone through presidents very quickly in South Korea. He is a lawyer, a former member of parliament. He is referred to by some as South Korea's Donald Trump because of his straightforward nature of communicating. He got in trouble this week for calling members of the U.S. Senate some sort of off-color name, not realizing that there was an open mic. But regardless, he was in town to talk to the United Nations about security issues, and the NYPD was part of his escort group, and among those was Detective Myungsun James Thorsten, who is a Korean-American detective and police sergeant in New York City, together with a team of 3 other distinguished NYPD officers. And Detective Thorsten happens to be a Korean-American, and he also happens to be a fourth Dan candidate in the art of Taekwondo. He's a veteran of the police department, and he has done a lot of work with PAL and community affairs. Taekwondo Life Magazine has done some work with him in the past. We did a program together when Nia Sanchez became Miss USA in 2014 because she was a Taekwondo fourth Dan at that time. She's a fifth Dan now. We did it to help children in the city. It was a great program, and Detective Thorsten is a great guy. They were involved around the clock in escorting and protecting the president of South Korea. That involves them being really at his beck and call, because sometimes he's going to meetings, but other times he and his family members or members of his entourage want to see various aspects or historic sites in New York City. They don't have to necessarily pre-plan that with NYPD, but it is NYPD's job to get them there safely and to get them back to their hotels. That work starts when he gets off the plane, and it ended at the end of the week when the South Korean president got on the plane, his private plane, and headed back to Korea. Detective Thorsten is a perfect example of somebody who uses their Taekwondo skills in a practical matter. He has taught the NYPD self-defense as well as taught other individuals. He's more than 20 years trained in Taekwondo. He is recently done for the anniversary of one of the Korean holidays. He did a board-breaking event for the police commissioner and a lot of the police dignitaries down at one police plaza, and he also works as the neighborhood and youth liaison coordinator for South Queens. Detective Thorsten trains with his family at YH Park Taekwondo Academy in Levittown. Those of you will be familiar with that because that's also my grandmaster, the first U.S. Olympic coach in 1988, 7-time Korean national champion. And there was a reception this week for U.S. Korean American dignitaries, of which Grandmaster Park was invited. Very small one, together with an audience with the Korean president in order to be able to talk about issues of pertinence and prominence for Korean Americans, Koreans living in what they call the diaspora, right? Living outside of Korea, immigrants, first Americans, and things of that nature. So our hats off to members of the NYPD for doing their job and putting their life at risk to protect these foreign dignitaries, and hats off to Detective Thorsten for taking it to the next level, enhancing his police training with Taekwondo training for him, for his family, and for spreading the meaning of Taekwondo in New York and Korean culture. So we always like to bring you these stories. We're happy if you guys have any of these kind of stories. We'd love to feature them. They come to our attention. This is what Taekwondo Life magazine is all about, celebration of life through Taekwondo. So my name is Mark Sorianis. Be sure to go over to Bet Online and support our sponsor, and I look forward to seeing you on the mat.